Happy Friday, beautiful people. The EST is back, and that means that TK gave me the keys to the mansion again. So you know what I'm about to do. I'm about to grind my feet all on the couches, all the furnishings, and all of this mansion. We're talking King and Queen of the Ring, Double or Nothing, Mercedes Monet's recent interview, and so much more on the Friday edition of WWT Live. Keep it locked.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling network on the planet.
Welcome. It's Friday. We're back again. And thank God I'm not alone because we have so much to get through. We had QR codes, we have updates, and we might even have some spoilers if you don't live in the Saudi region of the world when it comes to SmackDown. But thank God I'm not alone. I got the sweetest Oos riding shotgun with me. Honey, how you doing today?
Feeling great. It's hot over here on the East Coast, so I have to grab me a little milkshake and get ready for the day, ready to talk some wrestling. And we're already here, man. It's Memorial Day weekend, King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring weekend, Double or Nothing. So much to get into. Can't wait.
So much to dive into. And thankfully, we have a member of the board here, a member of Prestigious Council. Mr. Councilman Farrow is also riding along with us today. Sir,
greetings. It is going wonderful over here. It is a little chilly over here on the West Coast, but I have spoke with some of the constituents over at Strattonville, Yeetropolis, and everyone in Saudi Arabia is just doing wonderful right now. And no spoilers. No spoilers for me over here. We have talked about this. If spoilers are coming out, shut up.
You guys don't know what analysts are? You guys don't
we know these comments. You know, these comments might just jump in. It's like, oh, this happened. Hey, listen, we purists over here. All right. We wait.
I don't know. If you're a member of the Twitter /X platform, you might know what's going on in these streets as far as the SmackDown side, as far as what we're going to see, as far as the card. And of course, we'll get into the card of King and Queen of the Ring a little bit later now that it seems like it might be finalized. But first, we have a special announcement and maybe even a kind of what do we want to call it, like a makeup since we go into Sin City next year for WrestleMania. But it was announced a few days ago that SummerSlam will be held in Minneapolis at the US Bank Stadium. But the real news is that it's going to be 2 days. We're going to get the first ever 2-day SummerSlam in 2026, August 1st, August 2nd. What do we think about this? Obviously, Minnesota was in talks for WrestleMania for quite some time. The pandemic kind of messed up their flow with getting their WrestleMania week. And then we had to give Tampa back their WrestleMania. We moved on to LA. And now clearly Vegas was a bigger option to go after WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. Do we think that SummerSlam, SummerSlam's really like, if you want to call it like WrestleMania light, if you would. But what do we think about it being 2 days and how they're going to fill that card out?
Biggest party of the summer, making it 2 days. I think that is going to be immense. I think that is also a great deal. I'm not quite sure who said it in the chat. It might have been you said. But I also believe that this was a little consolation prize for not snagging that Mania lottery or whatever it was that they were getting ready to do in it was between Vegas and Minneapolis. But I guess this was like their little, I would consider this a makeup. WWE was like, here, we're very sorry. We didn't give you Mania, but here, we got this, SummerSlam. And it's the first 2 night ever. What's going to be bigger than that? Because, everybody's going to tune in. So I think that's a great way to get some more eyes and more booties and seats in Minneapolis. So good for them.
Yeah, I think this is dope. I think this is a great expansion for what we call it, the Big Four. I see Dylan had mentioned something too that I was about to say, but I will have to say I disagree. I think this is a great thing to have a 2-dayer for because, Honey just said biggest part of the summer, but I think the next one should be Royal Rumble to be 2 nights where you have the women's Royal Rumble headline one night and the men's headline the next night. because it's not really that difficult to fill up these cards with this stuff. So I think this is a great start to try this out, to figure out if a 2 days go, and then making that now like how we have WrestleMania week, SummerSlam week. And of course, the one thing I'm excited about, and we all know, so already get ready. You know where we headed, right?
Sexy Red?
It's
okay, I had to clarify.
It's Tiffy time.
Oh, no.
We're in Tiffany Stratton's hometown for SummerSlam. She's getting a belt. All right? She's getting a belt. It's Tiffy time next year. Understand, it's going down in SummerSlam.
We got some time before we get there. Dylan, and shout out to everybody in the chat. What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining us. Boza, Dylan, Eric, Isaac, Matt. Appreciate you guys chatting in and chiming with us. Dylan brings up an interesting point. Should all the big four pay-per-views be 2 days? And if they are, since this one's in 2026, what does that mean for 2025? Boza brings up an interesting point that Wembley seems to be the big get nowadays, and we've seen how AEW has done Wembley. Should WWE kind of slap the on the table and be like, hey, we can get even more fans in Wembley for the biggest party of the summer? How would that fare out?
I mean, then
when would they be going?
What was the question?
When would they be going to Wembley for SummerSlam?
So SummerSlam Minneapolis is 2026.
But isn't SummerSlam in Cleveland this year?
This year, but 2025, we don't know where it's going to be.
Oh, my bad. I'm thinking we in 2025, but that's on me. That's on me. I forgot what year we in. I'm so sorry. No, I think they could. I think that would be one of the first great big fours to go international, and Wembley is the perfect place to do it.
Oh yeah, and then you want to talk about filling out the stadium. You kind of want, they're kind of, shoving it to AEW. I mean, it'll be great. It's great for both promotions either way during the summer. You're still gonna make a lot of traction and get a lot of ticket sales out of that if you can. I mean, I'm sure they can, being that these events are, the SummerSlam is one of our big four, and the Wembley show for them seems to be like it's going to be something kind of like their second out of their future big four, if that's what they're trying to get to eventually. But I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe Fake TK will have a little bit of an issue with this and kind of like tuck tail. But who knows? I think either way, both promotions will do great.
I guess this is where I show my age a little bit, and I become an old man. I don't like 2-day events. We can fit it in one day. I don't want to deal with 2 days in a row. I don't want to deal with the crowds multiple days. I want my weekend to decompress. Pick a day.
I was wondering where you was going with that. I'm like, as soon as you said
maybe not with everyone, but I don't think I would want Royal Rumble 2 days, or
whoa!
I am a terrible host because I did not see the presser in the queue, because I would have stole his whole shtick and returned the favor and gave him a resounding introduction. But nonetheless, the professor surprised us, and I was actually going to go to a curveball here while we're talking about 2-day events, because Councilman Farrell brings up a good point about having the women's Royal Rumble one day, the men's one day. If you follow the professor on the social streets, he actually has a very thought-provoking video up about the need for an Evolution Part 2. So if you haven't checked that out, I'll give the professor the floor to say why that's more important than having 2-day events, because there's such a depth in the women's division. Of course, this is women's wrestling talk, but we can probably do more with Evolution 2 just to highlight the entire division.
Yeah, I think, first of all, hi, everybody. Secondly, Evolution 2, I think, is a necessary situation given the depth of the WWE women's roster. I mean, whether you're looking at Raw, SmackDown, or my God, NXT, like, you are looking at enough women on the roster to where they don't even have to do what they did at Evolution. If at Evolution, they went back and grabbed several legends, one of the tag matches in 2018 had Trish and Lita, they had Alundra Blaze in a battle royal. Like, they had all of these moments trying to create these opportunities for these women stars that didn't have them because of the lack of depth in the roster. And even then, they pulled on NXT several matches, including the Mae Young Classic final. I think now an Evolution 2 situation would be amazing. And if they really wanted to upset the apple cart, they could do an Evolution 2-day if we're going to do a 2-day situation, because we've got enough people and you can let these matches cook where you're not trying to fit everybody on the roster in one particular show. But in terms of these 2-day events in general, I honestly think that the whole reason we're getting this 2-day SummerSlam is to kind of give Minneapolis a consolation prize for not getting WrestleMania in 2025. I think that's what that's all about. I think it's one of those scenarios where they already had the stadium booked and they said, hey, it's already booked. Let's just go ahead and do this. I think that's the real reason behind it. I don't know that we have enough things going on in the summer to make this a 2-day event. And I think my bigger concern is if we move to 2-day events for all of the major PLEs, we've just taken away from the aura of WrestleMania. WrestleMania was already big because it was a stadium show. Now we're doing stadium shows almost everywhere. So the 2-day situation was the one thing that made WrestleMania different than all of the other PLEs. What will you do now to make WrestleMania different? Because if you're going to bring 80,000 people to a stadium for 2 days, you've got to have, you just can't have normal entrances. You can't, you're not going to have 80,000 people and no performances. I mean, and since we're going bigger and better and all of these kinds of things, I don't know. Now, I'm not saying it can't work. WWE will find a way to make it work. I'm just trying to think, what does this do, particularly for WrestleMania, since all of our international shows, for the most part, are, all the Saudi shows are in these big stadiums. Several of the European shows have been in these big stadiums. What's going to make WrestleMania different if SummerSlam and other events are 2-day events?
Would it work?
Evolution 2-day event, I'm for it.
Would it work more if they kind of did like a backlash route for each night? So as WrestleMania, we know we have probably 8 matches each night. But if SummerSlam, let's say, was Backlash had 5, but it still filled up the card enough to where it filled up the 4 hours and it kept us entertained. Could that potentially be something that helps moving into a 2-day event, or do you still would find that a little unnecessary? And I think, to Mayor's point, just mash that all together in one night.
I think the question is, what stories are we leading up to that will make us want to be invested in SummerSlam for 2 days? I think that's the question. Historically, there haven't been enough stories to warrant a 2-day SummerSlam. So if there's anything
for WrestleMania, because we do a lot of throwing stuff together at the end of WrestleMania every year.
I will say that the last 2 years have done a better job of really utilizing both days and doing something that made us want to see what could happen in both days. And certainly what happened in Philly was a great scenario where they actually made the stakes on one day in the main event connected to the stakes in day 2. So they're going to have to start being super creative. With that said, I think Triple H has got the crew to do it. I think he was smart to do this in 2026 to give him a couple of years to build to that. So there's not the pressure of doing that right now. With that said, remember, this is the same Triple H that would give us 5 matches on an NXT takeover. It'd go 2.5, 3 hours, and we'd love every second of it. So to me, if we're in a space where we have fewer matches on the pay-per-view or the PLE, I think it makes the PLE mean more. I think it makes the wrestlers work harder to get there. And I think it spells payoff more. We're getting longer matches on the PLE. We're getting these wrestlers who get to showcase what they're doing. And this is not being petty, but I think it's important. I think it differentiates them from the AEW pay-per-view that has 13 matches and goes 5 hours. No, let's give us 6 or 7 go 2.5 to 3. And we go, yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Professor brought up an interesting point about this eventual SummerSlam in 2026. It can't just be matches, but there's going to have to be surprises, performances. And I just did a quick Google search, and I can't think of any artist that hails from Minnesota. The biggest one would have been Prince, but Prince not here no more.
No, Minneapolis.
Yeah. Minneapolis specifically.
Minneapolis, yeah.
Well, I tried to I cast a wide net. I just checked the whole state.
He's having a look at both films.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
definitely the
can't
biggest,
think of
but
bring out the Prince hologram.
But you know what? I think 2 years is a long time. They've got a lot of time to create relationships, and they never really just lend themselves to whoever's just in that hometown. So SummerSlam's gonna remember a couple of years ago they were gonna have Cardi B, and had she not gotten pregnant, they would have had her. So I think there are all kinds of options for them, and so I'm here for it.
Could a specialty be added to SummerSlam, like a specialty match? So like we said, like even talking about with Royal Rumble, you have the Royal Rumble, of course, so it makes sense to do those two, but maybe adding something to SummerSlam that you only get to see at SummerSlam. Like I know, for instance, like when you play 2K24, there's always an Iron Man match in SummerSlam, and they'll make that the main event on the game. So not saying that for here, but it's like, do you think maybe they are cooking up something, or maybe take a few things like they said they were getting rid of some of these PLEs like Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, and then start to throw them only at SummerSlam?
I could live with that.
Okay.
I could absolutely live with that.
I have a controversial question I want to ask each and every one of you, since we're 2 years out, and Councilman generously pointed out that Minneapolis is Tiffyville.
Mm-hmm.
Is 2 years enough time to sweep under the rug whatever's going on with a certain beast incarnate to have him appear on that card? Will everything be palatable by them to repackage him around that card big enough to sell it out?
Nah.
Here's the thing. I completely believe that they are going to do everything to divorce themselves from any remnants of that era that they can possibly do. They have built right now a strong enough WWE, and wait, before I say what I'm going to say, let me just double check. Okay, so it's not on the run sheet. All right. There's a article or something floating around from Dave Meltzer,
My bad.
That was Prince, who I want to quote less and less and less. I was like, please tell me how he's not showing up again. But for me, Meltzer says that AEW, hasn't done enough to create new stars. That's a whole nother discussion.
Oh, I put that in the chat. So yeah.
Oh,
that was something we talked about.
So WWE has done a great job of creating new stars. They've done that, and you've got to think about who we have today that we didn't have 2 years ago. Now think about that for 2026. I say all of that to say there is not going to be a need for Brock Lesnar. And that's 2 more years on top of Brock Lesnar. I don't think this era is going to necessarily go back and grab those old names like the old era did. The old era felt like there was juice in the past. I think the new era is really leaning toward the future. So I don't think we'll have to worry about that.
Honey, your thoughts?
I mean, I don't see a problem with it if that's what they want to do. If they want to try something a little different for the summertime, why not? I don't know if they should do it for all big four. I think 2 out of the year to do 2 days is enough. If they're gonna, if as far as 2026, is that too far out? I mean, maybe, but then again, look how fast WrestleMania 40 came. You know what I'm saying? So,
Councilman.
Brock can stay his ass in Saskatchewan, where he's at. Stay on your couch, go kill your big game stuff, and stay over there. Because if you think about it too, like to the professor's point, they're changing everything up, but then also too, like we don't have no like gigantically big men anymore. So it's just like, yo, do you really want to see a David and Goliath situation every time? going up against Brock Lesnar. It's just like it's not that thing anymore. He's, you know what it is? He's not the big thing anymore. And that's okay. That is 100% okay for you to take what you have and go through. But I don't believe that it's still enough time to wash away that, especially with how they did the video game part. Like there was so much that they took out, so he wasn't in it. And they almost did not even want to put in where you have to play the main thing for the WrestleMania stuff. They almost took out the streak being broken. That's how much they wanted him out the game, but they had to do it because it was part of it. And they go through it so fast for you to go to the next one. So I just don't see in the next 2 years, especially with TKO now here, with all of them having to consider this worldwide thing. And we still don't really know what Brock has done, what Vince has done. We don't know what else might come out within these next 2 years either. So I just see them kind of staying away from him because he still kind of just seems like a hot topic at this point.
Councilman, you mentioned Brock Lesnar in the game. He did pop up in the game if you play the story mode or the mode where I guess it's Unleashed and Unsomething, where it's like you play as a created player and you do like a whole story mode thing. He, for the men's side of the story, because they have men's and women's, for the men's side of the story mode, he is the final person you face to win a championship. So they did, and that wasn't in the game until after the fact that they actually allowed, when things started resurfacing about Brock again, they actually have him in the game for that part. And I remember playing it. I was just like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I thought he wasn't in the game, but he is to an extent, I guess, just for that part. But I did hear also about the streak too, about taking that out.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd leave Brock where he's at. Like you giving us a lot of dope matches and everything, but to Professor's point, like we're moving into a new generation. Like and then there's nobody there I see like, who do you need to pass the buck to? Who do you need to give the rub to? Only one really was Cody, and that's it.
I'm sure my Homo sapiens want Omos to get his lick back.
No, I want Omos to be on TV. Back. Get your lick back from Vince and be on TV. Don't worry about Brock. Be on TV. Like that's what you need to get your lick back for.
That's hilarious.
Speaking of being on TV, we've seen a lot of this person on TV, and she's in the news cycle. She'll finally be in the ring tomorrow at Double or Nothing, taking on Willow Nightingale. And she had a great interview with Cameron Hawkins of The Ringer. If you haven't read Cam's work, it's always phenomenal. I really appreciate when writers can kind of paint pictures with their work, and that's what Cam does with every interview. A lot of buzzworthy quotes in this article with Mercedes, namely one where she believes she is the greatest women's wrestler of all time. She says 100%. Another one, she talks about her time leaving WWE, saying that she didn't want to feel like she was being handcuffed. Did you guys happen to check out any of the excerpts of the interview? And what are your thoughts on, I guess, Mercedes Moné, one day before Double or Nothing?
I love her confidence.
I was literally took the words right out of my mouth. Councilman. I guess you know what? I don't mean to just jump into it, but I want to because
go for it.
As soon as I saw the quote, it irked the hell out of me. And I'm just like, you know what? I get it, sis. I get it. It's nice to have confidence and believe in yourself. But girl, you have not wrestled since you've been back. So I'm not sure how you could say you're the greatest wrestler of all time. And especially if you haven't even wrestled in 2024. Just saying. Mercedes, Sasha, whatever the hell you want to call her, she just has this thing about her where it comes off like she's just being too much. And this is one of those cases where it's like, all right, you are completely feeling yourself, and it's getting a little bit to your head. And you know what? I get it, because that contract was hefty, sis. That contract was very hefty, and I understand. So, but at the end of the day, contracts don't create champions, okay? Your work in the ring creates what you want to be as a champion. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Next.
as I always speak to, the people who fund my campaigns, when they're passionate and they have their questions, I always like to break down what they say. And so I always look at this, especially when we're talking about what the best stuff is. So it's like, okay, so I look at it in a few key points, and shout out to my homie. He's a comedian by the name of Clint Coley. He talks about music and has his own podcast for it. And he's created 5 good points of when you're talking about who the absolute best is. And I've found a way to format this for wrestling. So in doing so, is Mercedes Moné number 1 at mic skills from any woman that's been out as a wrestler? And I'll leave that to y'all to answer. Is she number 1? Can you think of anyone else that does better mic skills than her?
Well, that's not fair.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
That's not fair.
Yes, I can name quite a few.
Because she said she's the best wrestler. She didn't say
No.
she's the best talker.
No.
And I can
Because
name quite a few people who do that better than her too.
and that's the thing. So when you say that and you say you're the best of all time, you have to have every pillar of that checked off. So you have to be good in the mic. You have to be a great superstar to push the needle, to have left an impact on the industry. And can you tell the story of wrestling with or without you? Can you not tell the story of wrestling without mentioning Mercedes Moné? I don't think she's gotten there yet. I believe she has left an impact along with the other people that's been there. But I do not consider you to be the best 100% of all time, where you're not even the best horseman out of your 4.
Ooh.
No shade. Tell
Okay.
it. Tell
Okay.
No shade.
We need a gavel.
Let me intervene here. Not just because I'm wearing a Mercedes Moné shirt. Has nothing to do with that. But Mercedes is absolutely the best wrestler of the 4 horsewomen.
Sure.
Absolutely. Best technical wrestler, can work any style.
This broke back.
Can work any style. So the problem with that statement is that your 4 horsewomen, the other 3, all of their best matches are with Mercedes. Every last one of them.
I can't say that.
I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I disagree strongly with that.
Fire. Charlotte and Becky done put on fire.
Yeah, several fire matches. Go back to that Evolution pay-per-view.
Becky and Asuka.
Wait, Charlotte's what?
She rarely sells. She only sells for
Sells
certain
what?
people. Sells their offense. She's a terrible seller. Charlotte is just as bad as a talker as Mercedes.
Here we go with the Charlotte hate. Here we go.
No.
It's not
I want to
Charlotte
hear what
hate.
Seth has to say on this. I really do. I want to hear what he has to say.
Like we're talking about mic skills, and then I know a lot of people get tired of the Mercedes character. Charlotte's character has never changed either. She's been the same person since day one. Same shtick. And a lot of people's Mercedes revisionist history comes from her booking. I get that. But you can't deny that she's made the most of what she's been given.
No, we're not. And that's the thing. We're not doing that.
That's not the case.
But again, you have the history of women's wrestling, and you're going to say you're at the very top of all of that? You're telling me you're better than Chyna in the ring. You're better than Natalya in the ring. You're better than Charlotte. You're better than Lita. You're better than. Oh no! I'm talking about all around. Remember, you gotta remember, bro.
He brought up Maddie.
All around. It ain't just about your in-ring performance. That's why Brett is not number 1. He's great in the ring, but you are not the greatest wrestler because that's not the only thing that can be done for that.
But you're taking criteria. I'm talking about just graps. If you're talking about just graps, you can't argue that Brett is like right there. Like,
okay, we're talking about straight wrestling.
But we have to go off of what she said. She said she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time, period. That's what she said. So I want to deal with that. I want you to continue. I'm not going to interrupt you because I haven't said anything on this one yet.
No, I want to get your takes because like I'm
no. I got to hear your takes.
Just like
because I know what I'm going to say. I want to hear what you have to say.
All of this, like, because the 4 horsewomen thing. And if you want my personal opinion, I feel like Mercedes can work with everybody. But you talking about people that work in these styles, like for me, it's not Charlotte. It's probably Bayley, who is the most unheralded as a worker.
Oh yeah,
out of the 4. If you want to say that Becky's the best talker, but Charlotte and Becky have been given the most. as far as a platform to showcase themselves. But Mercedes is always quietly, and I'm talking about from Sasha Banks' time, we can't really talk about whatever's going on with AEW because it hasn't really materialized anything yet. I don't know what it's going to be, but even when you talk about building your own platform, like last year alone, when she left and did the New Japan run, it was must see. Everybody was staying up late at night in the States to see Mercedes. I don't know if we would do that for either of the other three. People wanted to see this journey really take off. So for her to say she's the best, she's not just betting on herself, she's showcasing that, hey, I'm a draw. Can we say that they would be in the same spaces if any of the other three did the exact same things?
So I will
this
start by. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this just really reminds me of when you say that and you say those things. I think it comes also too behind controversy, and it just reminds me of CM Punk when he says he's the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you really the best in-ring performer? No. Are you the best mic talker? I'll give you top 3. Definitely put you in there. That's a very debatable argument. But it comes off like that to where it's like, okay, yeah, it can be said, but it's like this is the type of when you mention this, you have to have a criteria to what you're saying when you say that. Because she didn't say, I'm one of the best in-ring performers of all time, period. When you say you're the greatest wrestler, that is everything that embodies a wrestler from in the ring, outside the ring, and what you do with this universe. And I will say she has done a fantastic job, but you are not there yet for you to say you are number one. You haven't had enough modes yet. Professor, I know you're ready. So I
love what's being said here. I think one of the real challenges of a statement like that is the evolving meaning of what is the greatest wrestler. There's always this back and forth when we start talking about who ends up on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, whether it's men's wrestling, women's wrestling, WWE, however you look at it, right? One of the things that we have to consider is if you're going to call yourself the greatest, then we have to be able to look at whatever the apex of your career is. What's the apex and what happened in the apex, right? So when you talk about the greatest of all time, and you mention people like Shawn Michaels, there are many things you can point to. If you mention to Ric Flair, there's an entire area. If there is a Hulk Hogan conversation, there is, several names that we mentioned, Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, all of these people that you mention, you can go to the apex of their career and go, here's why, here's why, here's why. And there's a level of longevity that they have when they did this that you can go, this is why they are. Now, I love the comparison to CM Punk because I see some strong similarities between the two of them in terms of not necessarily being able to back up that statement in the ring, but being able to create enough hype to make you believe it, whether it's actually true or not. I will go so far as to say this. One of the most dangerous things you can do is to call yourself the greatest of anything. It's always better if somebody else puts that label on you versus if you put it on yourself. Because if you put it on yourself, we can really, really dig, okay? Here's why I don't. Now, if we're saying an incredible persona, a great wrestler, someone who has moved the needle in women's wrestling, I agree. She's had a main event at WrestleMania, right? Like there are things that she has done that has been of extreme importance. But I don't even believe that we've even seen the apex of her career yet. She's not had the defining moment that we go, she's the one. She was never the one in WWE. We follow.
No,
yeah, look at me. She was never the one.
Give us the title when you remember. Give us the title when you remember.
It's because of the booking, though. It was literally because of the booking.
Let me say this. Here's why wrestling fans can't keep using the booking excuse. Do you know why people get booked the way that they do? Because somebody believes that they can or can't carry the ball. And that's because they have or have not demonstrated their ability to do that. So when I sit back and I look at the fact that Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, held women's championships and lost them almost immediately and only had one title run out of 5 where she successfully defended a championship. Okay. So then you say, all right, well, let's blame the booking. Well, let's go to New Japan, shall we? So she shows up at Wrestle Kingdom in January, immediately sells out Battle in the Valley in February, wins the championship in February. Then from there, 2 defenses later, she loses that title and then gets to May and Resurgence, where she's the odds-on favorite to become the Strong Women's Champion, gets injured and loses that. And we haven't seen her for a year. So for everybody who's saying, well, once she left the WWE, blah, 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 her post-WWE career has been nothing to talk about. She did more in her post-WWE career on a runway and in somebody's movie theater than she did in a wrestling ring. I'm not being cruel. It's the truth.
Yeah.
I dare somebody to argue with me on that one. So here's the thing. Before she can make that statement, she needs a year in this AEW run to do all the things that we always thought she could do that she, for whatever reason, never had a chance to do. And it starts this weekend. Win or lose with Willow, she's going to need more than this Willow match to prove to us that she's the greatest of all time. And then I sit back and say, if you're the greatest of all time, why are you fighting for AEW's secondary women's championship?
Ooh.
If you are the greatest of all time.
Let's be realistic for a minute.
If you're the greatest of all time, okay? If you tell me who fights for a secondary championship when they come into did Chris Jericho ever fight for the TNT championship when he came in?
This is not fair, Professor, because you were on record saying you didn't want her to be hot shotted to the actual top title first.
I didn't, but she said she was the greatest of all time. I didn't say it. She said it. So if you're going to say that, then that's what those people who've called themselves, if you've got the experience that you've had, you've been around longer than AEW, by all of your resume, you should be at the world title picture. You're in the TV title, basically, the TBS championship, but you call yourself the greatest. That's why you shouldn't do that. That's why, because I think, could she be before it's all said and done? Possibly. But I really believe that her WWE run hasn't given her the chance to prove that. And what she's done so far hasn't given her the chance to prove that. So I'm not saying, and I want to be clear because I fear somebody's going to quote this and they're going to put this on the interwebs or whatever. I'm not saying Mercedes isn't great. And I'm not saying that we're not behind her. And I'm not saying we're not rooting for her to do well, because we are. We want to see her do well. But to say that what you have done so far qualifies you as the greatest against anybody else in the business, and there are several we could say you're possibly greater than, but I mean, right now, if I just among the four horsewomen, I can't say you're the greatest. I can't. There's no stat that would prove it. There's not.
It's not. Like, just because she's competed in first evers.
I gotta go.
Right. Competing in
guys,
first
I will write an
evers doesn't
article
make
about
you the
this.
greatest.
I promise I will write an article about this. There's not enough time, but I'll write an article about this.
When
I don't believe any of the other four
nervous.
horsemen would have carried the pandemic like Mercedes did, along with Bailey. I'm gonna give Bailey her flowers too. But
wait,
we know why Becky was gone.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The only reason Becky wasn't even in there was because she was pregnant.
She had child.
And
I get that.
Becky was
I'm talking
ready
about
to
the
carry.
quality of matches and everything, segments. I don't think anybody else would have carried that like they did.
What was the best Sasha Banks match during the pandemic?
Probably one of the matches with Asuka.
I think her best match during the pandemic was the Bianca match at WrestleMania. And that one, the other one I'm thinking about was not during the pandemic. I was thinking
A match with her and
match.
Bailey probably being a tag team champions during the pandemic. The whole thing down hello. They carried the pandemic as a tag team.
I agree that
but that's it. Like,
you guys, I feel like you guys are making it seem like Mercedes' career is like in the middle, where there was so much more before. If you look even the NXT run, like this is literally a pillar of how we got here to women's wrestling today.
But I don't think all of that combined. I think it's good. I think it's noteworthy. I think it's important, but it's not the greatest. We're talking. And
I hear you. You're saying that she can still attain that. Like for me, my goal is probably Trish for a lot of different reasons, but it's mostly like getting us to where we're here today. And I probably will never move Trish, but I can honestly say that I feel like if we would have fallen more over the eventual Trish Mercedes match than what we got, if we would have got it, in my opinion, just because of how they could have worked together. Honey, I know there's a lot going on. What is your take on this?
I think
not on her just being the greatest, but like if you had to, I don't want to get into a whole let's rank the 4 horsewomen. We'll be here all day. But
that's a separate show. That's a separate episode, which we should do though.
Yeah, I blame Mercedes for this whole damn topic because not for nothing, we're 40 minutes and we've only talked about 2 things. But you know what? Nonetheless, here we are.
That's good.
I'm just saying, but I cannot disagree with anything Professor said. He took a lot of words out of my mouth, so I'm not even gonna bother. He said what he said, and that's what most of it. But as far as I never the horse. As far as the horsewomen, you're asking me. You're asking me as far as the horsewomen, or you're just asking me as a Mercedes?
Just the quote, the topic, her being the greatest. Sounds like it's a 3v1 here. You guys are all in agreement.
Okay.
Not the greatest.
Okay, fine.
And there's a lot of facts to prove that, and I get that.
I'll give you my thoughts. And this is my thought. Short, sweet, and simple. She's not the greatest of all time. Period.
Okay. We're gonna pause because we're gonna have to like button this up.
This is a separate episode.
Hopefully we have a Double or Nothing post show tomorrow to really dive into this more because there's so much to unpack there. Because like I feel like you guys are saying Mercedes is 4th on that 4 horsewoman list, and
I think she is.
I can't allow that.
I think she is too.
I mean, I put a third over Bailey.
I would say if we had this conversation 5 years ago, she wouldn't have been 4th. But I think what Bailey has done in these last 5 years.
You're right. You're right.
Compared to where.
Councilman, you know what?
I'm sorry. I tried, Mayor. Until they said like the shit she did this year, I'm like,
no, because I think even those 3 ladies would even tell you that they feel like Mercedes is a better in-ring performer than them. I think they all echo them. I really do. But you honestly do.
But you keep.
Becky and Flair, I'm sorry. Well, you know what? I feel like we went way too long. But you know what? Let's have a little cool down. Why y'all go?
We're gonna have them buy some merch real quick.
Get merch.
Hey yo, you. Yeah, you. That's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen, not knowing what you want to do. Like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. All right? What you waiting for? Head to www talkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit.
All right. Hopefully you guys get that merch. We're back. We're gonna switch gears here on that topic, but that's gonna be there'll be a lot to discuss post Double or Nothing tomorrow. But we'll button it up on that. Let's hit some quick topics real quick because I'm sure we gotta talk King and Queen of the Ring. We'll just go directly into. Actually, I don't think I got a slide for this, so we'll just rap about it real quick. Patrick Mahomes was recently on the Pat McAfee show this week. If you remember, the reigning Super Bowl champion MVP as well, was talking about his recent stint on WWE Raw, and he felt like he should have gotten to the ring. He said, Logan Paul is his boy. He understands he's not the most likable, but he has Logan's back. And he said he felt like he should have gotten in the ring and done more that night. To which Triple H came out and said, hey, the invitation is always open. Now, we know that football contracts and things of that nature will not allow it to happen, but would you guys like to see Patrick Mahomes get in the ring, any type of tag team action? What do you think about Triple H keeping that door open?
I think if Patrick Mahomes got in the ring, Andy Reid would have a coronary. I mean, in the off season, obviously that probably would be something really cool. I wouldn't be surprised, considering how he helped Logan Paul that Monday Night Raw and whatever. He kind of looked very heelish, if you ask me. So I wouldn't put it past him to do something in the ring or just to have like a little moment. So I think it would be cool, but
Professor, what you think? You think there's room for the Super Bowl champion to wrestle?
If he trains well, my whole thing is, and maybe I'm getting very protective of our business, but we don't see wrestlers go and show up on the NBA or on the NFL. We don't see them, going to somebody's training camp to play baseball. I think if Mahomes trains well and it's worth seeing and it's worth doing, okay. And I do have confidence in our current administration and regime to be able to make the call if he's actually getting it done at the PC or not.
Okay. Councilman, we've seen things like Bad Bunny in recent years. We've seen Maria Menounos. One of the more popular matches of a footballer was Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Could Patrick Mahomes join those ranks?
Absolutely not. I would rather see the Chiefs real MVP Taylor Swift be in the ring before I see Patrick Mahomes in the ring. Look, man, stick to what you know. All right? Stick to what you know. Throw the ball, get you some Super Bowl championships, sit on the sideline, man. I'm like Professor. Like, look, I don't mind the dope being open, but man, look, you gotta dip your feet in, man. You ain't done enough for you to be like, hey, let me get in the ring. No. You're gonna wind up like that little boy in the prime thing last time getting RKO'd, and he gonna be like, wrestling is real. Yes, wrestling is real. Like, yo, I get it. Y'all want to live the fantasy. You see Logan Paul, but no. Stick to what you know. If Roman Reigns can't come do a play for you during the Super Bowl, you shouldn't be doing it at our Super Bowl.
Agreed.
Well, you heard it here. So a lot of us here on this panel do not want to see Patrick Mahomes jump into a WWE ring. So you know what that means. We're getting Cody versus Patrick at Minneapolis in SummerSlam 2026.
Oh my God!
That's exactly what we get.
Next up, we got some interesting news coming out today from Fightful. They're saying that Julia is actually being positioned to be the baby face or the face of the women's division upon arrival. We know she has a minor injury from her Marigo debut, and she's set to work the PC and debut at NXT Heatwave this summer. But the real quote here is that she is being almost favored or positioned to surpass the ranks of Asuka's NXT run, which makes me think, what do they mean by that? I think there's some comments swirling around. Do they mean that she'll be in NXT for a long time? But I immediately thought does that mean she's going to break the 500-something day streak of being champion? What do you guys think? Honey, I'll start with you.
I honestly thought the same thing you did. I had the same sentiment. So I was like, oh my God, they're really going to put the strap on this woman. She's going to beat Asuka's record. That's the only possible thing that I could think of. I don't blame them for putting her in that kind of a light because she is a superstar in that manner who can break barriers and move the needle in NXT like that. So I can totally see her having the longevity. What I want, and you know what, this would be really interesting if our good friend who watches and comments with us, Cindy, I'd be really interested to hear her take on this because she loves to talk about Julia and with Asuka's reign and everything. So I wonder how she feels about that. But as far as beating Asuka's record, that's saying something. That's saying that how much potential, how much they see for her potentially with booking, and how they see her as a superstar and how they want to basically handle her going forward. As far as breaking Asuka's streak, can she do it? I believe it's totally possible at this point. You can never say never, but I don't know if I'd want her to. I really would love Asuka to hold on to that accolade. Being that that's what made Asuka such a strong such a strong factor on the women's roster in NXT in the first place. But if they do, I mean, if they pull the plug on that, why not? You know, I mean, it's always cool to witness history being made, and especially in women's wrestling. And I would look forward to seeing it. I'm not opposed to it, and I'm not, you know, I would totally be with it as well. Either way.
Professor, should Julia be positioned as the protagonist to Roxanne's title reign?
In terms of how Roxanne has been positioned, you know, right now it's kind of Roxanne and the rest of the roster. So there's going to need to be somebody who has enough of a resume that could really be a formidable challenger for her. So I think that could be Julia. My only issue with all of this is who in the world has the loose lips that keep sinking these ships? Why do we know this and she's not even graced an NXT ring yet? Like, that's the part to me that doesn't make sense. We haven't even had a chance to see her wrestle in an NXT ring yet to be able to say, oh, she's great enough where she should be positioned that way. So I don't know who keeps leaking all of this information, but this is the kind of information that we don't need to have. We don't need to have it. What are we going to do with it? For someone, again, who hasn't even been here. And where this, again, becomes dangerous is you say this about someone who's dealing with an injury right now. So given the way injuries have happened in NXT lately and in WWE, how many current WWE stars do we have out on injury right now? So I'm concerned about that. You know, if anybody could have done in terms of length of time, I definitely think, you know, Mommy was being positioned for a super lengthy reign. She had gotten to the year mark, that being Rhea Ripley, of course, not in NXT, but I'm talking about in, you know, with the world championship and things like that. So I'm saying if main level roster stars right now aren't able to do a full year without injury, and NXT stars aren't able to do a year without injury, why would we make a statement like this about someone who is currently out on injury? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it just me.
Yeah.
Speaking of that injury, I saw a report floating around that Roxanne is actually working some of the NXT live events more stiffer to actually help
I heard that too.
her upcoming matches against Julia. Councilman, it seems like whoever her challenger is that we learn about next Tuesday, seems like this is where we're headed. But should Julia be positioned like this going forward on NXT television? And what does that mean for the rest of the division, since we're kind of in this, let's just call it what it is, a stratosphere of like Roxanne and everyone else?
I mean, it's kind of like the thing with like that being Cody to Roman. Like, you know, somebody has to reset the universe. So if it is, it's cool. I don't mind seeing Julie. I've seen some of her matches. I think it can work. I don't really necessarily agree with the whole taking Asuka's reign, but I think being able to reset the universe to bring it back down for like everybody to compete, I wouldn't mind seeing it. But the real big question I have, even with all of this, is who did Asuka piss off for her to just be in the position that she is in now? Like, they are just trying to erase her from WWE. Like, she just ain't been right since Charlotte beat her the first time at WrestleMania. Now, the one thing that we know her for and that we still celebrate her about, you about to get rid of it this quickly? Who did she make mad?
Don't know.
That's an interesting one, because it seems like, I mean, we know Asuka's still undefeated in NXT. So I think she'll still have that accolade at the very least. But I think this just says more about the relationship Triple H is trying to curate with Japan wrestling promotions, that they're willing to go to that length to promote one of these stars off the bat. So that just comes out and never really comes to fruition. But one thing's for sure is that Roxanne definitely needs a reputable challenger to kind of counter everything that's going on and make the women's division hot again. They have a very deep division. Battlegrounds coming up. We're going to have a new mid-card title, but we can't see people just get stuck in that mid-card space.
Yeah.
On to a fun story.
Yeah.
I think this will be a fun talking point. Mark Henry's been in the news a lot this week. He was on the 6 Feet Under podcast. You know him on Busted Open. I believe he just celebrated a birthday as well. He had a very interesting question about who he would pick in his new Nation of Domination. He said his number one pick would be Omos. He also mentioned Carmelo Hayes. He said Trick Williams is too liked. He wants people that's not liked. He said Bobby Lashley. And another interesting name he mentioned was Velveteen Dream. And he talked about Velveteen Dream being somebody that needs his second chance and believes in redemption. But once that second chance is over, then he's done with you. Also, shout out to Mark Henry for following Women's Wrestling Talk. We did get that follow this week. So thank you for that. What do we think about Mark Henry's current iteration of the Nation of Domination? Professor, I'll start with you.
I think it's one of those things that definitely looks to the future. I think, when the original Nation of Domination was put together, it had an interesting makeup. It started, of course, with the veteran and the leader, that being Farouk. And then it took, some other guys who had experience, but didn't really have those kinds of opportunities, that being, the Godfather and D'Lo Brown. And then it took two basically rookies at this point, The Rock and Mark Henry. And that is, if you're thinking about a faction, that's what you need. You need somebody who is brand new that can take advantage of, all of the knowledge and information that's being shared from the veterans, and then those people who just haven't had an opportunity. I think these men all fit that bill. Bobby Lashley being the veteran in this particular case, Omos being that guy who is the heavy, who just hasn't really had that opportunity. Carmelo Hayes also falling in that space of star power, kind of like The Rock was in terms of star power. Velveteen Dream being the guy who needs a chance. And I think this is an interesting list. Many of you may be familiar, kind of one of the first sightings that we had of the Velveteen Dream was in Philly, at Philly Mania for All Caribbean Wrestling. He is going to be a part of the upcoming All Caribbean events in Bahamas and Jamaica. Oddly enough, Mark Henry will be there as well. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. I'm good with this list.
Honey, what's the possibility of this actually coming to fruition? As you know, there were reports this week that Mark Henry's AEW contract is coming up shortly. We don't know if it'll be set to expire. We don't know if he's actually quietly renewed. Could this be the rumblings of a new Nation of Domination, and would this actually play out on screen?
I think if that's the direction that AEW wants him to go, as far as, putting together a faction, possibly. I mean, it's totally a possibility, especially with the superstars he's chosen. Maybe not so much with Bobby Lashley being mentioned, but I think it could be. It would people, and it could happen. I don't think it is likely to, though. I'm just gonna go on an inkling, but I think it would be an awesome idea. Nation of Domination was one of the greatest factions in that time when they were out, and it was kind of like almost I would say that they were one of those factions that created a blueprint for how a faction should be formulated. Like a formula as far as how Evolution did the same thing, where you had your rookies, you had your vet, and you had the current guy who's the man who's also the man who runs things currently. So I think it would be an awesome thing for AEW and for Mark Henry as well to put together something like that. Or, if his contract, if he doesn't renew his contract, who's to say he won't create that nation somewhere else?
Councilman, what do you think about this fantasy faction that Mark Henry has built? Is there possibly a chance that he is brewing this under wraps? I mean, I don't think AEW would do a faction like this, but if he does find his way back to WWE, is it possible that he can be that mentor for some of the young stars he named?
I definitely think it's possible to be a mentor for them, and maybe even to create something new that can form from the people that he starts mentoring. But I don't think you do a Nation of Domination, and I don't think they should, just because simple fact they can't use the N-word at all, and that's gonna be it's very hard. That was just a joke. But it's very hard to shape that? Like how do you say that with everything that has happened within the last 10 years? So let's think about it from outside of the WWE, and let's look and remember what the nation was doing at that time. This is when it was okay to do that, where you had stuff like Public Enemy, where you had stuff where we could talk about being black and being proud. Now, how do you do that with today's? Like, it's just, I don't necessarily see it now. And like how WWE may shape it to form to where TKO approves it or Triple H approves it, to where it's like, okay, it's okay for it to be like that. Because even like with the Carmelo Hayes, you could see him still try to, I got to tone it down a little bit. Like that time when him and Ricochet went at it on the bump, you notice like his personality started coming out a little bit more, but they kind of had him get back into that character. And so I just, if they do it, they got to be real cautious about it and come from a real good creative standpoint. But for now, I would just rather see them do something completely new with them under the tutelage of Mark Henry and a Bobby Lashley. But I do like his picks too, because I think all of them together can have them form to where all of them can do something to get them even higher. Carmelo Hayes can get higher. Omos can be recognized a lot better and utilized way better than he is now. So I just hope they start something new if he does come and try to do it.
Something tells me that when you put stuff like that out there, you're seeing if like companies kind of want to see that in this space in 2024. And Mark is very vocal about a lot of things, and he's been in the news a lot lately. I think a reunion might be likely for him for WWE, because I think he has a lot of game he can give a lot of the young superstars. So maybe we will see that. One thing that we speculated a couple of days ago is what we might see tomorrow at King and Queen of the Ring. And I think Honey and Councilman are probably looking forward to that, because yesterday we had some more eerie messages on Twitch featuring what we believe is Uncle Howdy, QR codes, Twitch streams. I'll just rip the Band-Aid off. Did you guys see the video? Did it creep you out? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to be a part of it? And are we getting the debut tomorrow? Honey, I'll start with you.
Oh, yeah, because, I get really excited about things like this, and I love going down that Uncle Howdy rabbit hole. It seemed to me that there was, from the perspective of the video, I did see it. I just saw it about an hour before I got on here with you guys. So it was fresh in my mind. It seems to me that whoever, whether it's Uncle Howdy or whoever, we still don't know who this person is that's writing these little messages. If you guys have been keeping up with all these QR codes, but it was someone's hands wrapped in some very, very lengthy black tape, just masking tape all around their hands. And they just I just couldn't help but notice that they were writing letters. And I whoever that person was, I think those letters were going to the people that we are going to see come with them. I didn't notice how many times. The one thing I did notice was that there were a few notes that were written differently and put into envelopes. And just to quote one of them, it says, "It's never easy to feel lost. You have lost too much already. You deserve to be set free. I know you are angry. That is okay. Let me show you what this anger does," and things like that. And talking about, these individuals that used to have families and used to have people and friends that believed in them and left them alone, and they've been forgotten. So it seems to me that Uncle Howdy, or whoever's hands those were, was writing those letters to the individuals that are going to be in this faction that he's going to bring along with him. I lost count as to how many notes he wrote. He wrote 2 and put them each in an envelope, and I forgot to count how many times he did that, because I was going to consider putting the numbers together. So it was 5 other people and he's the 6th, or he did it 6 times, whatever the case may be. It's whoever films this stuff and produces it and edits it the way that it does, even from the glitching to the eerie music and all that stuff. I have to give credit where credit is due. It has been quite a scene, and it's very theatrical, it's very dramatic, it's very my style, and I love that kind of stuff. But it seems like the rollout for Uncle Howdy in this faction is going to be very grand. Like, it might as well be a red carpet, but in this case, I would assume that it's going to be a black, smoky, eerie carpet in this case. But I'm happy. I still don't know what to make of it. I don't know when he'll show up, but I just can't wait for him to. I'm just itching for it.
Councilman, do we see any type of drop in Saudi Arabia? The Wyatt Six has been something that's been speculated for a long time, even before Bray Wyatt's passing, for the likes of people like Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, Nikki Cross. Eric Rowan is now, we know, back in the company, along with Bo Dallas portraying Uncle Howdy and Alexa Bliss. What do we see in Saudi Arabia, if anything?
This is gonna make I gotta be very careful with this question because it pertains to a spoiler of what happens with SmackDown. And I don't know what's happened with SmackDown. But if it's what we talked about the last time we were on, I definitely think we're gonna get something shown with him. Because it's something has to be shown to end off in Saudi Arabia, just for the simple fact that, again, that's where Bray won a title. Everything just lines up there. You have Randy Orton there with King of the Ring. Depending on who's going to win and stuff like that this Friday. That's just my
Bray's
pick.
birthday.
Yeah, Bray's birthday.
Bray's birthday weekend. It's just
something
too coincidental.
Something. I don't know if we'll get a person per se, but I think we may get no longer just the QR code, but us actually having the wrestlers now start to see the signs and interact with them, and just like popping up on the screen, maybe the song playing and stuff that may go along with them, or just some kind of symbol on the Titantron. Maybe we'll get that just because of what the slow cook has been. But even watching the video, something that made me think of that it might be Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy in it is something that Honey also pressed on, with the point of family abandoning you. Remember, the way basically abandoned Dexter Lumis. What was Joe Gacy's group?
It was a Schism.
Schism.
It was a Schism.
And what happened to that?
Then you think about
it fell apart.
That's enough. That's
you think about Nick. You think about
Nikki Cross.
You think about Nikki Cross with Sanity. You think about Eric Rowan, the Wyatt family, and then Alexa Bliss, and as well, because she was always the forgotten horseman. People still call her that, the forgotten horseman. Just saying, going back to that horseman thing. Just saying, there was Alexa
With the way
Bliss
turning their
still,
back on Dexter, Dexter and Indy still married.
That's still a great question. We still don't know the answer to that.
That is a
What
great
are we talking about? They're still married.
I saw that segment. I saw that segment pop up today too when Dexter spoke for the first time and said "I do," which was great. But and then of course Bo Dallas, and then all this talk of suffering loss and finding my new family and you're accepted and this and that. It's just I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Professor, do we get a big reveal? What do you think of the video and everything we've been seeing up until this point tomorrow? But another question I have, is this just a reveal of the group, or will we see a victim?
See, that's the very interesting question, because in the mystery of trying to figure out who's in the group, we have no idea who's their target. We have no idea. And I guess a lot of that is determined on who's in the group. And so there, and I know Dylan is just like, I need it now. Part of the challenge with it happening now is there are a lot of holes to still be filled, and they don't necessarily have to fill every hole for them to make a reveal. It feels like there's going to be some degree of a reveal tomorrow. It does feel like that. How it happens and when it happens is a mystery. I'm not sure. And I want to keep it a mystery because right now, there doesn't seem like anybody that they'd specifically attack. I don't know where in the show it would show up. I also don't know how anybody would follow it if it doesn't end the show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like if what we saw with Bray's return is similar to how they will do this, I don't know how you follow that. Like I wouldn't want to have to wrestle after that, Right. So I don't know how they're going to do it. And then with it being in a stadium versus an arena, I don't know. I don't know. But that's the great part. Not being able to figure it out, not being able to know what's going to happen. This is another thing that makes wrestling great, another mystery, another something that the smart people can't figure out. So that means we just have to watch tomorrow like everybody else and figure out what's happening.
Do we know what the last match is tomorrow? Is it the championship or is it the King of the Ring final?
Don't know yet.
We don't know, but we're going to talk about it right now. Let's just go ahead and make some quick predictions and thoughts. We actually, I mean, I don't want to give you guys spoilers. I'm not going to do that to you guys.
Please don't.
But
please don't.
We're just a little bit away from SmackDown, so we'll get our finalists going on. But let's just talk about who do you guys think will be in the finalists of King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring. We do know that title shots will come as a result of both tournaments, something that has probably irked the likes of Zelina Vega and Xavier Woods, who did not earn title shots, but we know that both winners of King and Queen of the Ring will receive title matches that they're choosing at SummerSlam in Ohio this year. What do we think about that announcement, making the tournament have a little bit more stakes to it? And who do you guys foresee getting those title matches? Honey, I'll start with you.
Still makes me mad that, the rightful queen, still didn't make anything of it with Zelina Vega. Shout out to the homie LW all day, But my ending results and final winners, I actually have those. And for me, it makes sense. I am calling Gunther versus Randy, and I am calling King Randy to the stand. I think it's something just to add to one of his many accolades. I think it'll also lead to a great championship match between him versus Cody with lots of history behind it. Just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. And I said what I said, y'all, for the last few weeks, and I've been trying to prepare. All you Nia haters, I'm trying to prepare you for this, and I'm letting you know one final time, my girl is taking that crown from Lyra. She's going to win over Lyra Valkyria, and she's going to take that crown, and she's going to annoy the hell out of y'all for the next half of the year. And y'all are going to sit there, and you're going to freaking like it. And you don't have to like it, but you will respect it.
Professor, who do you have in the finals? Who do you foresee getting these title matches? And what after we get out of the King and Queen, we'll talk about the rest of the card as well.
It's tough. I mean, I know Gunther is the favorite for a lot of people. And obviously I don't know what's going to happen tonight. We'll wait and watch in about 30 minutes or so. But there's a case that can be made for any of them. The question really to me is which champion will the winner go after? That will really determine if they decide to, how that will fare for them. As strange as this sounds, I think if the male champion goes after Cody, it's a wasted attempt. And I think for the female side of things, that's going to be hard to determine because, we've got this women's world title match tomorrow night involving Becky and Liv. And based on that can determine a lot of things. So I think it's really going to depend on who ends up being champion and who these winners end up challenging. I'm excited about this because strangely enough, there was a Brock Lesnar mentioned earlier today, earlier in the show, and he was the last winner, or he was the first winner really to be guaranteed a title shot at a SummerSlam. And that happened in 2002, and he went on to defeat The Rock, a changing of the guard, allowing him to win the world championship. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it. It's hard for me to make a prediction because it really could go either way, and I'm leaning either way. Gunther seems like the obvious choice, between whatever happens with Orton and Tonga tonight. I imagine Randy Orton would be the favorite, but we'll see. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch today.
Can I ask a question? I want to ask a question. If you guys do believe Gunther is going to win, even for you guys in the chat, feel free to comment on this. Do you really see him wearing that crown, being as serious as he is? Just saying.
I think he would wear the crown. I don't think he's going to go through the whole, as to the extreme as some other kings have done. I think he'll wear the crown because he'll make it mean something, and you'll have to respect him. But he'll gladly trade that crown in to be champion. And who he goes after? Well, I mean, he's on Raw, so technically he should go after Damian Priest. And if he does, Gunther's our new world champion.
See, I don't think Gunther needs the crown to challenge Priest, but also, even without the crown, I think he'll bedazzle his peacoat and put some extra frills on it, and he'll probably rock a crown on his tights for the next year and some change.
I could see that,
if anything.
But
Councilman, who do you have in the finals, and what are your thoughts on the stakes being upped?
Like that the stakes are being up, it makes making King of the Ring a whole PLE now just very more like a reason to want to do it rather than just holding the title and not coming of it. Like, Honey said with Zelina, which she does deserve better. I still say that, and hopefully they right that wrong like they right in Minneapolis to have a SummerSlam. So hopefully they get it to her again. My pick, because of that this new stipulation is, and I'm going off of this strictly as they have to stay on their brands, and because I don't know if they specify that they can choose anyone or if they just get a title shot with where they're at. So I'm going to stick with it as they get a title shot with the brand champion that they're a part of. I'm going with Randy winning tonight and then going on to be King Randy, as Honey said, because Gunther doesn't need to win King of the Ring to challenge Damian. He's already been strong enough to where he can literally just walk up to Damian and say, hey, I want a shot. And it's too early to take it off of Damian just yet, especially with the way they've been promoting him, with the way they've been trying to get him into brand deals and stuff like that. It's kind of hard for me to see them want to take the strap off of him now within the next 3 months. So I don't see that happening, and I see more of a Randy Cody with all the history and Randy allowing Cody to go over to strengthen the title reign, because it's still not going to hurt Randy if he loses. And of course, I'm just with Honey. I have been frequenting Honey and Nia Land, getting ready for her coronation as Queen of the Ring. No disrespect to Lyra. I would love to see Lyra and Becky again, but we saw it already. So I just want to see Queen Nia annoy the crap out of people, and I want to see her sit on Bailey just one time. I just want to see it. It's always funny when she does it. I love that she added that to her repertoire. I was just like, that is such the great movie.
We love seeing Bonsai drop. So I'm going to go down the line with my picks for the entire card. I'm taking Cody over Logan Paul. I think Chad Gable actually captures the IC title. I'm going to go Queen Nia and King Orton. And I think I'm missing a match, but we know there was a match that just got announced, so I'll get your picks on these as well. The women's tag team titles will actually be defended on the pre-show with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair taking on The Way in the form of Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. So shout out to them getting that Saudi money just by being on the card. We love to see that. But what are you guys' picks?
Why the pre-show though?
Well, without giving you guys any spoilers, I won't exude that.
All right, please don't.
But somebody could be working double duty. We don't know that yet. SmackDown comes on soon. But what do you got? King and Queen of the Ring down the board.
I would really hope that, the big 2 out of 3 would not be transitional champions. That's totally not what I see for them with this reign. I love Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, but I feel like we are going to see maybe a possible split real soon. I'm not sure why. They've just been at odds in certain moments when they've had certain opponents and such. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I could see them taking it from them, but I totally would love to see Bianca and Jade come out on top with this and just keep going with their reign. For sure.
Same.
Okay. What about the rest of the card, guys? IC title, women's title, Cody, Logan Paul.
IC title, I totally see Sami Zayn keeping it. Granted, sometimes the hometown heroes don't win, but Sami does in Saudi Arabia, and I think it would be really great to see him. I do believe that it is capable of being either way, because Bronson Reed has been working really hard and Gable has been doing his thing as well. And, considering the rapport that he's carrying now with his new behavior towards Alpha Academy we could possibly see a very different Gable, you know, if he becomes Intercontinental Champion, but I totally don't see him taking it from Sammy so soon. So Sammy there, I said big 2 out of 3. You know damn well I'm not picking Logan Paul, so I'm not even going to go there. And yeah.
Becky Liv.
Oh, Becky and Liv, yes. Yeah, I'm going with the man keeping it, I think. I think I want to see Liv just keep clawing at that spot. You know, I want them to keep building her, you know, her crowning. I don't want it to happen just yet. I don't think it should happen just yet either.
Councilman, your picks.
Well, I'll stick with that one. I'm gonna say I think Becky will hold on to it. I just want to see, like she said, Liv develop just a little bit more. I'm liking what she's doing. I just want to see where it goes to and what it really turns her into. I just don't want to see it happen too fast. I think we are at the point where I don't want to see a lot of these transitional champions, to Honey's point. I don't care who wins between Cody and Logan Paul at all. I just Prime won. Prime, I'll give you a spoiler. Prime is the winner. Not the person that owns it, the drink itself. That's who won the match, because that's what all we're gonna see the entire time.
You certainly wanted that coin.
Jeez, man. I know we pressed for time, so I'm just about that match. Yeah. The triple threat, that's the one I'm very uneasy about. I think Sammy could sneak away with it because of a mix-up between Bronson and Gable, but I also see Gable not being a man of his word and pinning Bronson to steal the title. And then also too, if Bronson was smart, hit a Cody Reigns, stack both of them up and pin them. All three are very viable options. So I really don't have a determined winner, but I'm just gonna go with who I would like to see, and that's my boy Perk Gable. I'm ready for Perk Gable at the championship, man. I'm so ready for him. And what was the other match I'm missing? I'm missing one.
Who do you think is King and Queen by the end of the night?
Oh, we already said it's King Orton and Queen Nia. That's
okay.
Yeah, Councilman, there you go.
Yeah. And Professor, a very interesting thing happened this past, I believe it was Monday. Kind of a changing of the guard where you saw a moment where that actually surprised Chad Gable himself, and he started receiving the popular "You Suck" chants. I don't know if you guys all saw that, but that was a moment that's flying around socials. And I didn't actually make my pick. I actually think the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour culminates tomorrow. I see Dylan in the chat actually saying a lot about Dom helping Liv. Maybe that happens tomorrow night. We'll see. But Professor, what are your picks?
I definitely think Chad Gable leaves as Intercontinental Champion tomorrow night. I think that's absolutely going to happen. I'm nervous about the Liv match. I'm nervous about that match. Just because I know Becky kind of stepped in last minute in this scenario. So I don't know if she's intending to, hold on to this title for a while, or just kind of, step in for a minute before she goes back on the break she initially intended to have. So I don't know. I will say that if Liv doesn't do it on this stage, it might be too soon to do it there at the Clash at the Castle.
A thought just popped in. What was that?
Clash at the Castle, Becky and Lyra.
Or Becky and Nia.
It makes so much sense.
Location. Becky and Lyra clash at the castle. That makes a lot. So Becky,
if we miss on Queen Nia for that though, oh my god!
I thought she getting that SummerSlam though.
But it's at SummerSlam.
It's at SummerSlam.
It's at SummerSlam.
Okay. That's what that was Triple H announcement. They all get that. They both get their title shots.
That's true. That's true.
So it solidifies Becky for sure as the champ. And you don't want to see Nia against Liv. No.
Didn't Liv just beat Nia? No.
Yeah, but we never got our match, and I didn't like that.
Oh, you mean like actual pinfall? Well, Nia nerfed Becky, and then Becky got like a last woman standing.
So
yeah, they
those are my
didn't
quick-
they didn't
Right.
put that right. Like I need to see them really yo, she is the woman that made the man. We deserve to see that match on a PLE and come full circle.
That part, Councilman, that part. There's so many wrong that they need to right in WWE, from Shayna Baszler to Queen Zelina to Nia Jax versus Becky. Just saying.
Yeah, and we're going to do some double or nothing picks really quick, which is going to bring up the dreaded Mercedes conversation from the beginning of the show. But the professor has to leave us. Professor, can you tell the good people where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me, of course, at Bonnerfied on all of the socials. My commentary work with IWE and Southern Honor Wrestling are on IWTV. You can go to YouTube, the YouTube channels for the Nightmare Factory, and check out my work there, for Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. And also, I've been like in a bunch of random varying promotions across the country doing some different work. So you can check that out. If you follow Psycho Boy Fodder, you can check out some of those matches there. And then, of course, with All Caribbean Wrestling, lots of cool things happening this summer. And Ashe Wrestling, Lord, I can't wait for us to talk about that card that's coming up on June the 22nd. So really, my summer, June, July, is going to be really, really busy, and I'm really, really pumped for that. So again, give me a follow, and then make sure you're checking out that one piece we're talking about, Evolution 2. I want to get your thoughts on what you think should be the main event of Evolution 2. That is on my socials now, so go ahead and check that out. Happy wrestling weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Professor.
All right, peace.
I was so glad to see the professor because I thought he disappeared because I didn't see him after the last time when the Wyatt stuff happened. And it took over. And I hadn't seen him since. And I was like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Like, why he ain't been on here this week?
Uncle Howdy's messing with the stream again.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into another Uncle Howdy QR code storm, before we get out of here, we got to do double or nothing picks, which we have a pretty big card going down tomorrow. What are you guys excited to watch for double or nothing? And what are your thoughts on who's leaving home with victories tomorrow?
Ooh.
Oh boy. Willow's keeping it. Swerve's keeping it. Osprey's winning. I could see that. Don't really care much for the EVP stuff. I'm not rooting for the EVP. So whoever's against them, I'm with that. But I'm excited to see what goes on with these results here. It's gonna be a pretty good pay-per-view, I'm expecting.
Surprised not hear you talk about your TNT Championship match, Malachi Black and Adam Copeland.
Oh my God! Why? Holy crap! That's right. And we had a whole bloodbath this past week, which was insane. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you best believe Malachi all day, every day.
Councilman, what do you think is going to happen on the Double or Nothing card?
I think we're gonna have some bangers on here. Like she said, I think Will Ospreay and Strong are gonna put on a good match. I see Ospreay taking the title. I think I am looking forward to Swerve and the father going at it and stuff. I think Swerve still remains, but I think we're gonna have a nice, good like mental boust with it, along with some good wrestling. I am hoping, just so it doesn't seem like I'm being a hater, but I really am looking forward and hoping that Mercedes has a strong return to the ring. I am looking forward to that because something that the professor did say, I agree with that. I don't think she's reached her apex yet, and I do want to see her do well here starting off, even if she's not going over and Willow retains, at least showing that why she will be the CEO of this. And I am just looking forward to them canceling that Anarchy in the Arena match, because why you have a dude that just got hit by a bus in the match, not sure. But for some reason, that's the main event. And here we are.
There we are for sure. And then, you know, since it is that type of match, I'll take the team with the experience. I'll say the Elite win that. I'm going to take Swerve. I think Mercedes kind of gets this push that she missed in New Japan and she wins title. I'll take Ospreay over Roderick Strong. I think Malachi Black does capture his first singles title. Also, I believe Hook will recapture the FTW championship from Jericho. I'll pick Death Triangle to become Trios champions, and I think Trent Beretta does defeat Orange Cassidy. A curveball I'll throw. John Moxley is the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. A couple of weeks ago, we actually had a resurgence here in Ontario. I think he drops that belt finally to Takeshita, because we always talk about New Japan needing to build new stars. I think Takeshita carries that ball for a while. When we talk about the AEW Women's Championship, we got Toni Storm and Serena Deeb. I think Toni Storm continues this epic run that she's on. But overall, I think we're getting a strong card of wrestling. I think we'll have a lot of talking points come Monday when we review the show. That will obviously lead, I think we'll be leading a lot with talk about Mercedes and how she looks tomorrow after pretty much a year off of wrestling.
Yeah. I'm hoping for the best for her.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'll be really excited to see Malachi win his first title finally after these couple of years of being here. Like, finally.
And if he don't, come on back home.
Yes, please, just come back home.
Come on home.
Like, you know damn well you'll be welcomed with open arms on this side, sir.
Come on back, our old friend. We miss you, Aleister Black.
Yes, we do.
All right, guys, we've been running on here a little long, and we got a lot of wrestling coming too. We got SmackDown coming up this next, so we got about 20 minutes before spoilers no longer matter. So we're gonna let you guys get ready for that. Councilman, tell the good people where they can find you.
Man, you can find me on all platforms: Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, Facebook. Everything is Will Pharaoh, PHARAOH. And I'm gonna just leave it there because I know we got to get up out of here. But you can just follow me at Will Pharaoh.
Honey, tell the people where they can find the sweetest oos.
Y'all already know, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays here with the WWT Live crew. Don't forget, on Wednesday mornings, we do the NXT post show. Fridays, right after today, well, right in 20 minutes, actually, we're going to be doing our Honey SmackDown Watch Along, Women's Wrestling Talk, and TikTok Wrestling with Honey, Instagram Wrestling with Honey, Wrestling with Honey podcast on YouTube, Facebook Wrestling W Honey, and can't wait for the weekend.
We got a stacked card of wrestling this weekend. I want to thank everybody in the chat for joining us, from Boza, Dylan, Matt, Eric, Special Little Nobody, Sendil. We see you guys. Thank you guys for making WWT a part of your Friday. The mayor has nothing to promote on these social streets tonight, but I will promote one thing. Go buy those Lola Vice t-shirts. The main event of NXT Battleground. That is www.com/shop. Go buy those t-shirts and make sure you lock in with us on Monday and possibly tomorrow for a post show. We have a lot of shows, a lot of interviews out there. We just interviewed the Renegade Twins. There's an article on www talkpod.com and an interview with the Twins. Check all that good stuff out. We'll be back Monday for the Monday edition of WWT Live. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Be safe. Enjoy wrestling. This has been WWT, the #1 wrestling network for women's wrestling. See you guys.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WWTalkPod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at wwtalkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk.